Steve Jobs was not married, right? He was yeah, later on married to Lisa Powell, the Powell, what is that? New.
Lorraine.
But before that, his girlfriend was Christina. She was very close to you. You're all living together at the time, right?
Yes, Chris Ann.
What is her name?
Chris
Chris
Ann.
Ann.
Christiane. Yeah.
And she wrote a memoir called The Bite in the Apple. And she went to India with
Mm.
another friend of mine from Reed College. Uh,
Is she doing okay? Is she alive?
she's
She doing
okay.
well? Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, um, uh, Steve's daughter Lisa is a wealthy woman, and
Yeah.
so
Of course.
um, Lisa takes care of her mother.
Yeah.
As far as
Her
I
mother is
know,
still. Her mother is alive still. Steve
yes,
Jobs' mother is
yes.
alive. Okay.
I, I haven't seen her
So,
this year. I saw her last year.
okay. So then you have a question for about consciousness and the
No,
frequency.
I was just sitting here wishing I could just kind of Wonder Twin powers and absorb your knowledge, and I'm hoping that maybe there's well, I probably shouldn't hope for it. There's something coming in AI where I can just take that bookshelf of yours and download. I'd love to read those books. I was saying when you popped off, what a treat to have such an amazing bookshelf, and I wished I'd have known about them
I
sooner
get
in my
called
day.
I get called a hoarder because I have piles of books in my house. I don't care.
I actually
Okay.
do. I actually have been called the same. But I had a hurricane that took my house. Now I lost everything, even all of my books. It was the most devastating thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to India. What really was so helpful in my life was learning Vipassana meditation. When they call it, some people call it insight meditation. It's very popular still, as it should be. And the way I describe it is it's a practice of actively relaxing. Um, Unlike Zen, where you're just supposed to sit and not think of anything, right? You're supposed to think about nothing.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, how's that going for you? But um, and so then years later, I went to a lecture by Bruce Lipton. He's written The Biology of Belief and he's written Spontaneous Evolution. Those are both bestsellers that he wrote. He was a cytobiologist at Stanford. And his first book, The Biology of Belief, is what it's about is, well, it's about many things, but the thing that really changed my view of life and health is he says, your immune system is exquisitely evolved to do the right thing. That is to say, it's exquisitely evolved to attack cancer cells. Okay. But the reason we get cancer is because cancer is very clever and it fakes out your immune system so that your immune system doesn't attack it. But the thing about your immune system is it's not under your conscious control, it's autonomic. It's the autonomic immune system. And what you have programmed in your belief about who you are and what you're doing filters down into your immune system. And
Let,
also, when you have chronic stress, your immune system is downregulated. We know that's
you know,
true.
Every
I'm
single
doing
cell is listening. Every single cell is listening.
I'm doing unusual today. I'm going to extend our interview for a little bit more and then play the second part later on. But let me, you mentioned, Danielle, about the cancer care. I was talking with you, cancer care in a briefcase, the concept, how the
Cancer
quantum
care
sensors
in a
work, how the
briefcase.
quantum physics come into our, not on the kitchen table. It is really coming into our biology itself. So I'm going to talk. Let me present a topic on that. You maybe love it, Danielle. Susan always love it. Let me present this one. This is
Okay.
There's a topic that I want you to jump in anytime you like.
Warren
But this
McCullough. I've heard of him.
uh, I'm going to talk about this subject. A physician curiosity was changing the profound impact on AI. It changes the entire course of the reality of the itself. See, that is, we are going to back to the 1943. Okay, it is when physician named Warren McCall asked one of the most important question, in the history of computing. What he did: can the activity of a neuron be described using mathematics? That is was his goal was. So that one question started the AI revolution. Believe me or not, a doctor started it. He's an engineer, like a polymath like you, Daniel. He's an engineer. He's a doctor, MD from Columbia, from the same school as you are. He's from MD from Columbia. So he was working on this extraordinary idea of the can you emulate a neuron into mathematical object. So that was his goal. So what is the neuromorphic computing is called? It means a brain inspired event driven. Brain inspired. That means we are not brain is event driven. A particular event we respond. Somebody I see you I respond. Energy efficient. Our brain works in 20 watts. The if you see that the whole thing works in the you need a data centers need a huge amount of power and very adaptive, online, real time. Instead of brute force mechanism, is there any way that we could use a mechanism, something like our brain mechanism, to reduce this kind of a demand for the power, energy, water, all of them? Can you change that? That is a shift in talking about that uh, brute force to. Uh, then let me change that a little bit. So that is the original thinking of the Warren McCall. Is what he did was, let me he created a Warren Pitts neuron. They created in 1940s. They created with another physicist called Pitts. Warren Pitts, I think his name, full name. Um, McCall and Pitts neuron. That's called Warren Pitts. Sometimes they call Warren Pitts neuron. They created a mechanism. It sounds very close to the neural network now. It is what they did was, for example, I give you an example of this 1x, 1x, 2x, 3, 5. I don't want to go into the mathematics of it, but I'm going to tell you how that works, how that fit into the neural network. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. A simple question. So, from the doctor's point of view, I can tell you about the doctor's way. If you have a input, okay, suppose somebody a patient walks into the doctor's office, he has a fever, he has a cough, he has the abnormal X-ray. What is McCall pitch neuron does is a mathematical function does. It is a threshold frequency of 2. If it is 3, they come in 3. That means it triggers. It is so it's dangerous. It is if it is less than 2, it says okay, it's not a problem. So they created a threshold. It can way to measure the fever. They gave a 1, cough there is a 1, abnormal X-ray is a 1, altogether is 3. But they put a 2 as a threshold. If anything passes through 2, that means it triggers the mechanism and say this guy has to be watched out carefully. It could be pneumonia. That was the basic primitive neural network started with a doctor, the Warren McCall. So that's called McCall-Pitts neuron story. So that is this became the hidden intelligence of the artificial intelligence, Bates they call. The Bates concept came from all the way you can trace back to Warren McCall. What is I give you an example for doctors can understand it. This is mostly doctors watch. So how do the doctors do this every day? If some patient walks in with a headache, fever, chest pain, and troponin, I don't know, Susan may know very well, better than me. This troponin is protein levels, right? It goes up, right? You can comment on that one, Susan, if I do wrong. What these are the 4 things a patient walks in. Headache is not important for them, So what it does is the computer system, doctors knows already, hey, troponin level is high, chest pain is high. This is a very dangerous situation with the cardiac arrest. So what the computer does, that's what we are focused on. It gives the weights. Headache, one star, one weight. The fever is a 2 stars. It gives you chest pain, 4 stars. It's very serious. And then troponin, high level of troponin, the protein presence in the food, they give you four stars. It becomes a neuromorph. This becomes actually neural network. That became a neural network, and then they give a weights. They give average weights on it, 0.1, 0.3. For example, 1.5 is a troponin, the protein presence. For the heart, when heart damages, the troponin levels goes up. That's what they see. So that is it triggers the heart level. That's how the AI is learning from the humans, learning from doctors. This is a learning from. This is the way the AI works. It gives the weights. It's not a mystery there behind. This is a neural network. So how they there is another gentleman that after neural network revolution started it, a lot of expert AI, all the AI started it. There is a one paper published by Ashish Vaswani and his team. Attention is the only one you need. That's what they published in the Nature magazine. This changed the completely the AI infrastructure, AI transformation. What that what that is called the transformer network. What is transformer network is? I will explain to you a little bit more in detail. But transformer network is looks at the attention, what things you need to pay attention to, what humans pay attention to, what doctors pay attention to when the patient walks in. What did the Susan watches when the patient walks in? What signs she looks for? That is the one, that the attention you can quantify that. How did he quantify that? This is the way he quantified that in his thing. So he takes chest pain, troponin level, ECG, EKG changes, and then step throat you got a knee pain, you got a headache, diabetes, all of them we saw. What is doctor is going to do? Doctor is going to pay top three. Those are important for him. Is a chest pain, troponin levels are high, EKG is abnormal. Boom. That's all he cares. That he paid attention to. So can we transfer that idea into the AI? That's what they did. They transferred that idea into AI because that is called attention. He highlight that attention. How did he get this? Massive amount of data that they read it and they see the patterns, attention patterns, they drag it. That's where transformer network need a lot of data. Huge amount of data requires. Then it will tell you that's a red triangle. This guy is dangerous. He's going to go into the cardiac arrest and acute coronary syndrome. He may have. That is the one it recognizes. How the AI is working. It's emulating the physician basically. It is it is taking billions, millions of physicians' idea and incorporate and then say what they are paying attention to. That is what recognize the pattern. That is called a transformer network. That really changed the world into we are now all the LLMs you see transformer network is the key. But there is a bad side to the transformer network. There is another dark side to it. What is that? It's an unending appetite for data. It requires a massive amount of energy. It requires a kilowatts of energy. The entire state of Utah, they're taking the entire Utah state. Half of the state is dedicated to the Manhattan site data center. It requires a transformer network. Dark side of it is it requires a humongous data and it requires huge amount of power and fresh water. It consumes a lot of fresh water. That is a big challenge. Now they are all these LLMs, ChatGPT, the Gemini. Everybody is asking about getting these resources, nuclear reactors for that, and everything they're asking. That was the case. If you want to read X-ray or anything, you need that kind of a infrastructure to do that. But this is a big problem, right? That you can. Is there any other alternative there? That came in this called neuromorphic imaging. It's a new kind of thing. How can we not, just Daniel is talking about Roger Penrose, and Roger Penrose and Yamarov is talking about neurons, right? If you emulate how the neurons do, our brain works in 20 watts. It can compute. It doesn't may not compute at all. It may do something. We don't know what it does, but it solves without all this computational power, with all this water, all this. You need a big sandwich, small sandwich. I can do all the work. A turkey sandwich can solve all these problems rather than a massive $500 billion massive data center. What the neuron does, this is already built. It's called IBM True North. Is a chip. It emulates the actual neuron in the chip. What is when what is neuron does when even when they see something, when I see when I see on the screen, Susan, my neuron fires. That's a response. It requires no power at all, low learning. You don't need much learning. I see her. Hey, Susan, real time adoption. I can change if she disappears on the screen. Oh, she's coming back. Something wrong with the internet. I can detect very easily. These kind of adaptive things is from the neuron you can do through chips. You can emulate in a chip called the true neuromorphic imaging chip. IBM and Intel produced the chip. Can you believe that? It is called a True North, and the Intel is called a Lohiri. These are two chips are available. Actually, it simulates what it does when neuron fires. Here is it doesn't do the weights. It fires the electrical signal. IBM chip True North exactly simulates the neuron and fires the electrical signal. They like exactly same. So that is the neuromorphic imaging. Neuromorph. So traditional AI, you need a huge amounts of data. You don't versus a neurons firing and talking each other. Neuron output. A sandwich can create that kind of energy than billions of dollars and trillions of dollars on the energy output, the input and output, the amount of things that is there, traditional versus neuromorphic imaging AI. That is the Dr. Kasturi. We spoke with him. He's one of those guys, pioneers, thinking about that actually. Neuromorphic imaging is actually emulating you. How do you neuromorphic imaging is thinking how you see, how you sense, how you heal. It is, one thing I love about Susan. Susan taught me the day ones in the beginning. Mind and body. You can go to that original thinking, original things, hands and minds, and basic stuff. You don't need this huge computers and huge software. You can think a very simple way. Well, how you see, how you sense, how you heal. You can follow the physics, can follow the biology follows AI follows the healthcare. That transformation is the key. It is a simple physics, nature's law following biology following AI following that should be the sequence rather than a technology, starting with the technology and demanding huge amounts of money from all the people that they need. People in the world need a lot more resources than this $500 billion data center. There is a way. If you think nature's thinking, nature has a much more powerful way to solve that problem. And we need to put money for that. So that is the so right now we can use the neuromorphic imaging, the precision, the your hands, they can see the shaking of a tremors. It can recognize you know what is special about neuromorphic imaging is that it only sees the changes. It doesn't record everything that you do every day. It's only records changes. It is specialized in that area. Neuromorphic imaging our neurons, it changes tremors. For example, eye movements that will recognize the diseases, diabetes, and all those other things. Gait analysis, Parkinson, MS, by just watching the way you walk, and precision coming up. It is an amazing Just watching. Neuromorphic imaging can watch through a special eye. It has a special eyes, watches that, and can give you stuff. You don't need a data center access. You can put in the doctor's office a small machine. The neuromorphic imaging chip can tell you what's going on with that patient. It is a it is a revolution in making. So brain is our bulb works in a 20 watt. Our brain works on 20 watts, 80 billion neurons in their operations. 20 watts, it does everything from day-to-day life. We have to really emulate. The AI should emulate, and technology should emulate. Not a problem with the current AI is the wrongful demands of data centers. $500 billion data centers. There is a way to do it through the nature's process. Nature can give us a shortcut for us. So thank you for watching. This is the next revolution is much more bigger than this. Daniel, watch this. Susan, you love it. You're going to love it. Actually, they wanted to put real neurons from our brain inside the chip and control that. Think about that. So they don't need to worry about how it works. If the neurons, our brain is working already, they wanted to put the neurons, it's called organoids, live neurons, our brain neurons, take it out. They're already doing it in San Diego. So it will tell you a lot of diseases in way in advance. So we are going to the next revolution. This is sometimes politics. This, you know, technology, technology should follow science. That's what the Steve Jobs did. What the Daniel did. I love about them. I'm emotional about it. Also, I tell you what they do. That is a real revolution in Silicon Valley. So, but anyway, Susan always teaches me something simple, powerful. You can think in that direction. I think that is the future of the game. We cannot ignore that. Thank you for watching, guys. Let me bring my guests back and let me see what they say. So um, let me the. So, what do you think? You love always science, Danielle. That's why I wanted to talk with you about this.
I like your slides. They're interesting.
What do you think of this $500 billion, data centers, environmental disasters, and all? These are all. There is a way to do. The way thinking like a Steve Jobs and you were thinking in the beginning days of Silicon Valley. We need that kind of thinking nowadays rather than these fights between the billionaires fighting, trillionaires fighting now. You need about Steve Jobs. He lived a simple life. You are all simple, a simple. I witness you. I know you. So it is why we need to this kind of a demand for all these new things and a lot of money requirement taking away from the resources from everybody.
I think the situation with data centers is it's just an experiment to see how useful it can be, and it is very useful. The first computers were gigantic and took a huge amount of power and were hugely expensive.
Yeah.
We're kind of like it's kind of like what's happening now. It's a recapitulation of the time. The CEO, Thomas Watson, CEO of IBM, said, "Oh, I don't think there's a need for more than 5 computers in the whole world." Remember that?
Yeah.
That was true. So, I don't know.
So, what do you think, Susan?
Oh, no, it was a great presentation as usual. Always food for thought. Wonderful food for thought. If you had to choose between, the left side of the screen with the data centers and the right side of the screen with, neurons powering it all. That's an easy peasy, easy button. I'm still kind of stuck on how they keep that neuron alive on top of the chip. So I was looking into how's that going to work?
Apple juice.
Apple juice.
Yeah,
There you go.
Hey, you forgot about that.
You heard it here. Strong work, Daniel. That's it.
There's a company in the Bay Area in San Francisco that has 10,000 neurons growing on a chip with
Yeah,
sensors. And I can't remember the name of the company,
yeah,
but
they
I
are. I met I heard a scientist on the TV. He's connected with me actually on LinkedIn. I know him, and I asked him to come. He's busy, but next time I'll bring him if there is a chance. But Daniel,
Fascinating.
I'm so honored to have you. Anything that you want to say, Susan? Then I'm going to finish.
Oh, no, it's just been a pleasure. I really appreciate you sharing your stories with us, and I love getting to know you. You come with the Steve story, but knowing you is really poignant for me this evening. So appreciate you sharing yourself with us.
Thank you,
So
Amma.
what I
Thank
wonder
you.
about personally, uh, what's it called? There was a science series. I forget what it was called. It stopped during COVID. Um, I don't know. I listen to Science Friday every week. So what I know for sure is there are plenty of single-celled organisms that can learn.
Mm.
Single-celled organisms that can follow a maze to
Yeah.
food. Okay. So where's the memory? Where's the memory? It's not in neurons. There's no neurons in a single-celled organism. We don't really have a good theory of memory yet.
Thank
Ah,
you. Well,
curveball right in the close. I love it.
yeah.
Good job.
See, Daniel, you are curious. Ever find a great friend to have. Wonderfully curious you are, and you're going to help me by the cancer care in a briefcase that you promised me. So he- wonderful. You and your friend, I know her. You know that. I know you personally well. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor and a privilege. Though you're my friend, it is more important to me what you say, what you did for the world, you and Steve Jobs. Thank you so much. It's a truly privilege and honor to have you.
Well, so my background is in hardware. That's what I was good at, not software.
Yeah.
And Affymetrix was a Bay Area company that is still in business. And years ago, I had a friend who worked there. They were talking about making these big custom chips. That's like a big chip like that would have lots of little wells where you could put antigens and then take a tiny drop of blood and smear it across the chip and see which antigens get activated,
Mm.
uh, right? And that's what we thought Theranos was going to be doing.
Yeah,
And
that.
the whole story of Theranos, I found it very frustrating because did they have no technology? Like, I am completely certain there's, you could say there's 200 types of cancer, maybe
I have a
300.
better technology than a Theranos, and nobody supports me. But I tell you, I have a better technology than that. So that is the sad part of the Silicon Valley. They go with the trends.
Well, you're interested
No,
in frequencies. Is
yeah,
that what you like?
yeah, yeah,
Frequencies. I'm into frequencies.
yeah.
Me too. I dig frequencies. Vector changes in medicine are really promising. I like vectors
Thank
as
you so
well.
much, Danielle. Stay on the line. We can talk a little bit more. But thank you all. Good night. Joining for me an
Thank
extraordinary
you.
conversation with one of the pioneers in Silicon Valley, Danielle Kottke. Thank you so much. Good night, all of you.
Good night.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine. Through our unique campaign called